Introducing National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk programming that you can access 24/7. Check us out on YouTube, Facebook, and X. And for the premier sports talk experience, tap into our Roku channel. Start your mornings with Mac and Jack covering all the weekend sports action. Then pour a cup and enjoy all the sports you can drink on the Coffee and Sports podcast. At midday, talk sports from east to west on the Coast to Coast podcast. Followed at night by some hot girl talk with Prim and Proper Sports featuring Sonia Pearson. Talk boxing on the Gloved Fist. Yankee fans tune in for Start Spreading the News. And there's more on the College Sports Huddle and Sports Scope with Robert Butler. And that's just a sampling. There are 20 podcasts in all and 70 weekly shows giving us a 3.4-star viewer rating. To find us on Roku TV, search for National Streaming Sports on the Roku search bar. Click on the logo and you're in. For laptops, mobile phones, and tablets, download the Roku app. National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk for America.
Football season is here, and SeatGeek is my go-to for buying tickets. Now, with SeatGeek, every single ticket is backed with their buyer guarantee. We've all had plans change, and when you can't make it to the big game, SeatGeek has you covered. They're the only ticketer that allows you to return your tickets ahead of the event for credit with SeatGeek swaps. So when things come up, I know that my tickets won't go to waste. So what are you waiting for? Download the SeatGeek app to maximize your possibilities and shop live events with confidence.
The Big Football Show every Sunday at 8 a.m. on Roku at 4 p.m. Yes, we're all ready. Good morning. Let's see, bring up James here real quick, see if he's in. Can we hear you now, James? Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you now. I just got the Bluetooth in.
Okay. All right, good. So I'm your host, Mac, with your co-host, Jack Hirsch from the Glove Fish Show and the Mac and Jack Sports Show. James, of course, with the debate show with Jack. And with Friday Night with the Fellas, and of course Keith Engel, our Reverend of college sports, preaching the gospel of college. So, Keith, let's start with you, of course, because that's what you're here for. Besides the Patriots, but I really don't have no Patriots news this today, anyway. So, Keith, I got the top 5 basketball college of the year watch list, and if there's anybody else that I missed, let me know. So top 5, I got Greg Gard from Wisconsin, Dennis Gale from Missouri, Tom Golden from Florida, Penny Hardaway. Is that the player?
Penny Hardaway coaches Memphis.
Yeah, Memphis. That's right. And Tom Izzo, Michigan State. What do you think of those? What do you think of those 5 guys on the watch list?
Well, you got 3 players and you got 3 players and 2 coaches. So I don't think the coaches are going to win any players, especially Tom Izzo, who's about, I don't know, 80. No, I think he's 70 this year. The guy I would watch, there's a couple of guys. The kid from Missouri is really good. Missouri has turned that program around from, I think they were 0-18 in the SEC last year, and they've got a chance to win that conference. They're certainly going to go to the tournament. They did lose yesterday, I believe. But a great turnaround there. Great job. And he's been a big part of that. A guy you left off Johnny Broom is a guy. Johnny. How do you say his name? I keep saying Johnny. I know it's not Johnny. Johnny Broom from Auburn, who has been tremendous all year. Missed a little bit of time with an injury, but Auburn's having a special season. And I think he is a guy that I would say is a front runner for that Wooden Award for sure. And the two coaches you mentioned are kind of on the opposite. Tom Izzo, who's had a couple of down years for his standards, has had a really good year. They've fallen a little bit in the last week or so in the rankings, but they just beat Michigan yesterday to take the top spot in the Big Ten for the moment. Having a great year. It's been a very interesting college basketball season, and some teams we're used to seeing at the top are in danger of falling all the way out of the tournament if they don't get it together. So it's been a very, very interesting college basketball season. Now we're really getting into, the prime time as we head up to conference tournaments and Selection Sunday. It's going to be a lot of fun this next few weeks.
Yeah. I guess before the game yesterday, Dusty May agreed to a contract extension. I guess that's his alma mater, if I'm not mistaken.
Indiana is Dusty's alma mater, and Mike Woodson is leaving at the end of the year to spend more time with his family. if you can read the code there, he's being pushed out. Okay. They thought about pushing him out last year, and Dusty May might have been the guy then. And they wanted to be preemptive of any interest from Indiana by extending his contract. He's done a great job there. He did a great job at Florida Atlantic, got them to a Final Four here a couple of years ago. Tremendous job there. And he's done a great job at Michigan, who had really fallen on hard times under Juwan Howard. He's got them playing great basketball, and they'll be in the tournament and a dangerous out. So great job locking up Dusty May, one of the great young coaches in the game.
Keith, let me ask you a question. What percentage of coaches actually do quit to spend more time with their family in reality? Maybe 10%, 20%, or what?
I would say 1% actually myself. Government officials and sports coaches always quit to leave more time to spend more time with their family.
So James, do you agree with Keith's outlook on these coaches? Do you think that is there any dark horse that you get?
Gates from Missouri, by the way, is the guy who's probably going to be coach of the year for the turnaround he's done in Missouri. Great coach, great job. Go ahead, James.
No, I've been keeping up a little bit, and I think Tom Izzo probably will be a good runner. I mean, like he said, he had a few down years, but this year has just really been like a turnaround for them altogether.
There was 20 years, man. You got to March. It didn't matter what Tom Izzo's record was. If he got into the tournament, he was always his teams were always dangerous. So hopefully we're back to that. Great coach.
Okay. So I got to throw this in there because this is all we got up here in Connecticut. Paige Bewers leads the Huskies over Butler. She's having a great year right now, Keith.
Yeah, well, that program has been interesting. Gino's had himself in the news this week for some other things besides the Connecticut team's play, but that team's been a perennial powerhouse. Also been down a couple to their standards, down a little bit the last couple of years. And it's good to see them getting back on track. And women's basketball, which I haven't paid a lot of attention to, is still, it's not. It's funny with Caitlin Clark gone. The as I talked about last year, the interest has waned a little, but it hasn't dropped off the face of the earth. So tournament time is going to be huge for them, and they need a good showing. And Connecticut being in contention is good for the sport for sure.
Well, they got a few good players, women players out there coming up. Juju Watson. Am I saying it right? And the girl from I'm trying to think of the girl from. Well, anyway, they do have a few good young players out there, so it will keep the sport going. It's still not going to be great because it still can't support itself, but people do watch it. We have some podcasts that lead off with that. So, I wouldn't, but they do. So,
Yeah, and again, it needs to be a bigger revenue maker for the schools for it to really take off. And until it is, and there's people in the stands, and they're getting major TV contracts, which they might because they've drawn well on TV. I think they draw well on TV better than they do in some of the on sites. So it'll be very interesting. And it's been a different year this year with UCLA near the top of the standings most of the year. There's some exciting teams, and you got some colorful coaches over there too. Kim Mulroy, Malarkey, whatever Malarkey, I think her name is, which is it's kind of fitting for her. but she's a really good basketball coach, right? But all the flash and the histrionics kind of overweigh that a little bit. So it'll be fun. It's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, one of those teams is Notre Dame college girls basketball. They're having a heck of a year.
They are.
So anyway, college football. I guess this is the newest thing out there. Texas is eliminating spring games, opting for the NFL style OTAs.
Yes, I like the spring games. They pack these stadiums, the Texases and the Alabamas and all these, even the smaller mid majors. This is a big deal for them to play these spring games. I don't know why they can't do both. I don't know. There's time to do both and have those types of. And I'm sure they were doing similar stuff to the OTA previously anyway. But I think eliminating that game, my guess is they were charging. I mean, they're probably losing some revenue, which is probably minuscule compared to the big picture, right? I play the games. I think the fans like these games, right? You got to see Arch Manning play last spring because he got to play in the spring game on one of the teams. So I'd like to see them continue this, and I hope this doesn't become a trend.
Yeah, and maybe they're just doing what the NFL does, that they're worried about people getting injured and maybe they do no contact too. I don't know.
Well, the problem, they're playing more games. That's part of the problem, right? So they want to ease the wear and tear on these kids because they're going to be playing, not 12 games, but not even 14 games anymore. I think that I want to say they played 16 games to finally win the national championship last year. I could be off one either way, but it's increased a lot over the years. And these are kids whose bodies haven't quite matured. They certainly look like full-grown men, which they are, but I think their bodies are still maturing and maybe can't go through that process. But again, you can't, just like the NFL, you can't eliminate the things that get you ready to play entirely because then you're just going to have crappy football in the month of September.
You brought up Arch Manning. Go ahead, James.
No, I agree wholeheartedly that the game should be kept, but you have to look at it from a business standpoint. They're looking at it. These guys, they probably want them to play more because no one's really watching spring games besides true fans of their team, obviously. And so they're revenue driven now. These guys are getting paid, so they probably want them to play more games where they're going to see them and earn their pay.
Yeah.
Maybe this will keep them from opting out the end of the year. If they eliminate the spring game, they'll play in their bowl game. Probably not, but.
Good morning, David. Good morning, Richard. Glad to see you guys join us in this morning as you normally do. So let's get to a little boxing, Keith. I know you don't follow it like we all do, but or Jack and I do anyway. Bivol wins a majority decision over Beterbiev to become the new undisputed champion. It was a majority decision, right, Jack? I know you watched it.
Yeah, he became the world light heavyweight champion. He won the title off of Beterbiev. Don't use the term undisputed normally. That's a farce by the fanboys create that because they're forced sanctioning bodies. Bivol will get stripped of his title by one of the sanctioning bodies. in a matter of months in all probability. And then what are we going to say? The title's up for grabs. So the guy who they give it to another sanctioning body, are we going to call them a world champion? Undignified. Let me put it in perspective. It's like there being a few NFL offices, and one of them's declaring the Baltimore Ravens as the NFL champions. So it's the Eagles Super Bowl, the Eagles the champions. So we won't call the Eagles the undisputed NFL champions because the Ravens, according to one of the sanctioning bodies, are the champion. It goes on all the time. So don't use, the undisputed term is silly. Bivol won the world light heavyweight championship off Arthur Better Beef. Okay, that's what happened yesterday. A great fight. Great fight. The rematch like the first fight. Bivol was magnificent. I had him winning 115, 113, 7-5 in rounds. Better Beef really came on strong around 4, 5, and 6. And Better Beef's strength is the later rounds. He just grinds opponents into defeat. And the way Bivol regrouped in the later rounds, and actually outboxed him there, it was just a magnificent performance. And something happened to Better Beef that hasn't happened in past fights. He got kind of a bit tired in the later rounds, even though Better Beef had a good 12th round. He got a bit fatigued, he didn't keep his momentum going there, but they're going to have a rubber match, a third fight, and it's going to do really good business. But you kind of wonder the age factor. Better Beef is 40 years old now.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine him getting better for a third fight. He's fought Bivol twice, 2 hard-fought close fights. I don't see how he's going to turn it up a notch for a third fight. But the third fight's welcome, and it's probably going to be a close fight again, a thrilling fight. So they'll have their trilogy that for years and years, boxing fans are going to look back on very fondly.
Better Beef, it works. Go ahead, Keith.
Well, I just want go ahead because I'm off subject a little bit. I want to give Jack credit. He had a great article in the boxing.
Oh, no, I appreciate it. It's kind of you, Keith, but I've done so many stories like that. It's like filing a tax return for an accountant.
I got a fun line to go with it though. I got distracted from the article because the picture of you is so great in the article.
That's why I posted it. I mean, they surprised me, the publication, putting my picture in there. I think it was a recent picture, but I look good in that photo. I looked at myself and wow, I look good actually.
You look so distinguished. I don't know what you're doing hanging out with us. You look so distinguished in that photo.
Yeah. That's why I posted it there. Yeah. I appreciate it.
Jack is also the most humble podcaster we have. So
we got to fill in the time. It always bothers me. I don't know about you guys, the three of you. When you watch these talk shows, and I'll name one in particular, it went off the air recently, but when Michael Kay had the show with Don LaGreca, so on, I enjoyed the show. I liked the individuals, but they get off this topic of sports and they just talk about stuff for so long. It's okay you get off it for a little bit and have a couple of laughs like, oh, if you go into Dunkin' Donuts, should you throw a buck in if they hand you a donut, for tip? I know Mac feels you should. They hand you one donut. Mac says throw in a buck. That's why Mac has no money. You understand? I don't throw the buck in, so I have a couple of dollars more than Mac because I'm more prudent, okay? But, you can have fun with stuff like that the way we're doing now. But when they're going on for 10, 15 minutes off sports and just yakking away, I tend to change the channel. I can't take it after a while.
Michael Kay's Michael Kay's head is as big as Barry Bonds when he's doing stuff.
I like Michael Kay, though. I mean, I'm a Michael Kay fan.
I did early in his career. I liked him when he was a writer with the news, and when he did radio. His time in baseball, he's just gotten so full of himself, which they got the TV.
I always wanted to meet Michael Kay to give him a trivia question, and this would have been great. Michael Kay once interviewed me. So Michael Kay would wonder how he interviewed me, And I would like keep him going. I'd show him Brian Kenny's phone number, which he'd have, which I have, Max Kellerman's and all those guys. But he actually interviewed me when Michael Kay was a high school basketball reporter for the New York Post, and I was coaching one of the varsity teams. So he interviewed me over the phone, on something. But to keep it going, he would wonder how he interviewed me, and I would try to cite them, with Brian Kenny. He'd figure, what's the link to baseball? Finally, he'd narrow it down to boxing, but that wouldn't be it. So I kind of always wanted to sit down with him and have a little fun and keep him going with that trivia.
So his career's gone downhill ever since that interview, apparently.
Well, I mean, listen, he's had a great career. You got to give Michael Kay his due. You can't dislike him.
That was a joke. That was a joke.
I mean, I don't know who you want to see go sooner, Brian Cashman or Michael Kay. I like them both.
So Jack is doing the same thing he said he doesn't want to do without Sunday.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. Yeah, listen, it's better than me being silent.
My goodness.
45 minutes.
That will never that will never happen, Jack being silent. Anyway. So let's talk a little bit about Greg Popovich, right? The longtime coach of the San Antonio Spurs. He's expected not to return this season, recovering from a stroke in November. And piggybacking that with what happened to Wembanyama, I mean, I think the Spurs are done this year.
Probably health-wise. I mean, it's more important for those two guys. They're both serious situations. I mean, it was a mild stroke, they say, that Pop had, but he's 77, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right? Am I doing my math right? 76, 77. I would think it's doubtful he may return at all at this point. And would Wemby, the kid, for a kid that young to have those type of blood clots? Remember what happened to who was the player with the Heat? He started with the Raptors, got traded to the Heat. He was
Chris Bosh.
Chris Bosh had the same. I don't know if it's the same issue, but he had blood clot situations, and it's not a good situation for anybody, much less an athlete. And you can't take those things. You got to take those things very seriously. And I'm glad they shut him down, and I hope he recovers. And it's a blow to that franchise for sure.
You know what? We never talked about the physical demands on these coaches in the different sports. Now, you mentioned Popovich. I think the physical demands are harder on being an NBA coach than a Major League Baseball manager. I'm going to tell you why. Because in baseball, they have these home stands. So even if it's an away thing, you're there for 3 games. You're constantly traveling in the NBA. You're doing it in baseball as well. Football, you look at Pete Carroll. He's in the 70s. He's going to have to be standing a lot, pacing the sideline. He's not going to have like a bench, like a dugout to sit on a bench during the games. Okay, yeah. But so you see Greg Popovich, the physical demands, you go city to city to city. I mean, it's a grind. It's a grind at any age, but especially older. You really got to be up to it, and not just physically, but mentally. You really have to be up for that grind. It's hard.
And he's been doing it a long, long time as well. And I personally don't think my gut says he won't be back. I don't know about you guys, but I think he won't be back.
But he'll be still a team president maybe with the Spurs. So he'll still have input, and I'm sure he might mentor whoever the permanent coach is.
Yeah.
And he'll still have input. He'll still have his imprints on the team, but I don't think he's going to be back actually coaching. I think he'll do like what Pat Riley's doing now, have a tremendous influence and maybe even be the guy in charge.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Jack, I agree with you that these levels of stress are tremendously high at that position. And we're talking about guys that have to deal with men, not only grown men, you're dealing with their personalities, you're dealing with the opposing team, you're dealing with the level of competition, you're dealing with winning. I mean, obviously you're a winning organization, you're trying to get back there. So, and now you got this kid. I mean, to jump from one thing to the other, talking about Wembanyama, that's huge to have, because they were talking about making him the face of the league, And when you look at it, so at some point, so that might be. I mean, I wish both them well with their health. That's first and foremost the most important thing. But you're almost looking at with basketball the way it's heading right now. I mean, where it's at, you're wondering what direction is it going to go continuously. I mean, from what I understand, there's a great prognosis for Wembanyama that he'll still be able to play. He's on blood thinners right now, so that should help with that. But that's serious for somebody
for sure.
at his age.
You know,
well,
to the stress that Jack and James both alluded to, he set such a high standard, right? Back in the early 2000s with how great those teams were year after year after year, and the number of championships they won. I think it makes it, in some ways, it makes it harder because you've got a higher level of excellence to meet, and he hasn't. Not his fault necessarily, but they haven't met it the last few years, and I'm sure that adds to that stress. So you need it at 77.
Yeah.
I don't want it at 65.
Well, that's it. It's, some of these coaches are lifers. Like Bill Belichick, he seems to be a lifer. He's going to want to do it till he drops. It depends on the personality. Once you have the type of money that these guys have made, you have to ask yourself, is it worth it? I mean, why are they doing it? And so, remember Joe Paterno said before he ran into the difficulty, he didn't want to quit coaching because he said, as soon as I quit coaching, I'm going to die. He kind of meant it in a way, because what's he going to live for? He doesn't want to go shoot a couple of rounds of golf. Derek Jeter said recently, after you retire, it's nice to play golf for 1 week. But then after that, I mean, you better find something more useful to do with your life.
There's a couple of great examples. You mentioned Paterno. He died a few months. And again, the scandal, I'm sure, contributed to that. But that was just a few months later he passed away. Bear Bryant's another great example. He retired and he was dead in a month, I believe. Yeah,
I heard that was from his wife, though.
Killed him?
Spoke of you mentioned the MLB and how there's not a lot of stress on the managers because they can sit in the dugout. They really don't do nothing. I mean, they stand at the sideline, they chew their little, their seeds and spit them out. And I mean, what do they really do? Especially Yankees. I mean, you got a GM that basically tells them what lineup he's going to use. So, I mean, I don't even get.
That's not just the Yankees, though, Mac. The script is there for everybody, right? Until they get. I mean, there are times they have to get off the script because of the events of the game.
It depends on the personalities. I don't know whether Aaron Boone truly has thick skin. He leaves that impression that he can take the criticism, but it might be bothering him things that he hears a Keith Engel type saying over and over that Boone's not doing this, Boone's not doing that. You don't think these guys listen to the talk shows when they're driving the car that it doesn't bother them? It bothers a lot of them. They might not let on. And that contributes to certain levels of stress. They lie in bed at night and they're thinking of all these things that are going wrong. Players that are complaining they're not getting enough playing time. And it depends on your personality. I mean, some coaches are really tough and they can shut all that down. They have complete control of a program. Like, even Nick Saban, he quit coaching. And I think he quit coaching, Nick Saban, because he didn't like what the game had become. What he'd have to deal with. The different levels of stress that get you. And some coaches deal with it by just giving up coaching altogether, but some plow through it.
I want to thank Jack for giving me that type of power with Aaron Boone, but I think it extends to the entire Boone family because I've tried to get Brett and Bob Boone on my one-on-one show. They don't answer my calls, and I think it's because I ride Aaron so hard. I think that's why they don't answer me.
You ride him just like a horse.
Big heads.
Yeah. How do you feel about it being extended? I can't wait to hear this. We asked Doc, how do you feel about it being extended for 2 years, Keith? He got to a World Series. He didn't win it. We still got some of the same problems. Cashman and Boone are a package deal, and I think they'll both go at the same time. Just because I gave you 2 years doesn't mean I can't fire you. You
don't get it. Hal Steinbrenner likes Brian Cashman
very obviously
a lot. He's going to stick with them till eternity. Okay, basically, Cashman will no longer be the GM when Cashman doesn't want to be the GM. And if by some small chance Hal Steinbrenner did move on from Brian Cashman, it's doubtful, but if he did, Cashman will get a GM's job very easily elsewhere. He'll have no difficulty.
I'll be happy to see him do that as well. I fired a lot of people I like.
He got to the World Series, Keith. I mean, come on. They had a good offseason. Are you happy with the Yankee offseason? Yes or no?
I'm giving him some grace. Yes.
So you are happy. So he did a good job.
I am happy with the offseason. It's a gamble. A lot of these things are gambles, but I'm willing to take the gambles that they took with not a lot of monetary risk in a lot of cases. So I'm happy with the offseason. Yes. I got to jump.
All right. Okay, Keith. Have a good one. Thanks for coming as you do every Sunday. Take care. So there you go, Keith Engel, folks. Joins us every Friday. Well, you start join us Friday again, and Sunday here on the Big Football Show. So, where are we at? We're at 31. Let's get into a little bit of one thing I wanted to talk about that I didn't. I think most of you saw the highlights as the Lakers roll over Denver 123
over Denver. Nice win for the Lakers. They made a little bit of a statement too, because they're really going to have to get in the playoffs.
Yeah, and LeBron is talking about the fit with him and Doncic, saying that he's like the natural quarterback, and LeBron is the natural receiver. You know, he hit LeBron for quite a few assists and scored 33 points. So he was the leader for the Lakers. So maybe, Luka's starting to get back in shape and getting ready to go, guys.
I think that's going to be a good thing for Luka's career, and I'm going to tell you why. Because Luka was the lead on the Mavs. Kyrie Irving wouldn't step over the line because Luka commanded so much power in Dallas. If there was a conflict that went on at all between Kyrie Irving and Luka would win out clearly. It wouldn't even be close. But now with the Lakers, LeBron is the guy, and Luka is going to kind of defer to him. Luka's not going to try to gain too much power. I can't see that happening. And as a result, I think Luka could become a better player. Maybe, I don't know James, what's Luka's upside as a defender if he buys in? Can he really be that good a defender? Some guys just don't have the talent to do certain things. I know defense is hard work, first and foremost. I understand that. But what's the most you could get Luka out of him as a defender? An average defensive player, or, even that?
You said it, the average. I think what you don't want that from Luka. You don't want, because you know what he is. He's not a great defender, but if you can get him to just play average defense, is fine. You hear me?
No, you're good. You're good.
Does he help him? But sometimes but Luka with the Lakers, he's going to put up great numbers in his career in the Lakers. We know he's going to put up great numbers, but we don't see numbers as far as what you're giving up point-wise, what you're lacking on defense. That doesn't show up in the box score. Is Luka's style of play is it really going to make a major difference, for the Lakers in the long run, as opposed to having Anthony Davis? Maybe not the long run, I should say the short run, the next 3-4 years. Is Luka, is he a better fit than Anthony Davis? Davis is hurt now. I understand that. But if Davis were healthy, I'm of the feeling the Lakers were better off with Davis in the short term if he was healthy.
I'm going to say I disagree with that because I've been watching the Lakers ascend. They were ascending with Anthony Davis, but they were like teetering, like on borderline, just average, middle of the road.
NBA championship with Davis and LeBron. Don't forget that.
I thought that their defense would wane when Davis left, but with the additions of Finney Smith and a couple of the guys, they look to be, I would say, formidable. They had a game plan for Denver. If you see that Jokic only got off 7 shots. He only got 7 shots off, and they smothered him every time. And they were they had JJ Redick had a great game plan to get all those players to swarm him and allow the other players like Aaron Gordon and Russell Westbrook to shoot, and so they could live with that. You see the score 123 to 100. It was much better, and even LeBron was playing great defense. If you watch him, I don't know how long that will last throughout. I mean, up to the playoffs, but everybody looks bought in, and you can see a smile on Luka's face. He looked at first when he first got there. Obviously, he was shocked, but he looks a lot happier, and he sees where the game plan and where they're going. I think they might be somebody to watch out for to come out, to be contenders to come out of the West.
I think that's a great point. Let's move along to football, and of course,
Philadelphia sports fans are a horde of inhuman monsters who deserve neither sympathy nor understanding.
I'm about ready to beat him down. Sometimes I seem to do that to some people. I bring in every play of every game, all day.
I don't know what he's bringing every play, every game, but he's bringing something. A whole lot of smack talking, that's for sure. Good, Jack.
No. You said let's move on to football, and we'll do it with Pags. But there's a major story unfolding in Philadelphia sports that's not football with the NBA last night. I don't know whether you heard, Pags. With the game on the line at Philadelphia, Nick Nurse, the Sixer coach, benched Joel Embiid. Sixers lost at the buzzer to the lowly Nets, but that wasn't the big story. Embiid didn't talk to the media about it after the game. I think that trouble is brewing in Philadelphia, with the Sixers.
Well, yeah. The Sixers should be somewhere in the neighborhood of the third or fourth best team in the East. And right now they are, I think now 2.5 games out of the 10 spot. Yeah. So let's call the spade a spade. The ownership group has a new shiny toy called the Washington Commanders, and he doesn't care anymore about the Sixers. So it doesn't matter what happens over there. And that's, unfortunately, I've been hearing that more and more now, that they are ready to, the fans in Philadelphia are ready to lynch the ownership group, that they are losing the fan base. And once they lose the fan base, they ain't coming back.
You think Joel Embiid gets traded after this year, Pags?
Well, there was something I heard the other day that said that if by chance that the Sixers don't make it into the playoffs and they wind up getting the first pick in the draft, that yes, that they would trade both Joel Embiid and try to get rid of Paul George.
Yeah, George isn't lived up to.
Well, I told you that from the very beginning, that Paul George is old. I don't understand it. I don't want him. And well, guess what? We got him, and it's just part of the demise. So now this is what the process is. The process is falling apart.
Yeah, that's one thing. That's one thing I always liked about you. You always shoot straight, especially when it comes to the 76ers. The Eagles, you kind of inflate them a little bit, but the 76ers.
Yeah, but even in all my inflations, I've been right. So am I inflating them or am I right? Is one thing or the other. It's hard to say one way or the other. Like when I'm saying, oh well, I'm inflating it, but I am. Hold on. Super Bowl 59 champions, right? That's what that says. Yeah. So
yeah, that's what that says. That's what it says. How about next year, Pags? Do they go again next year?
Listen, they have to make sure that the offensive line stays intact. I think that they're going to lose Sweat. And the reason why I believe that it's going to be Sweat is because he hired Drew Rosenhaus as his agent. And that's usually a sign that I want the money. I think that they have a better chance of keeping Matthews, but I'm not sure if that's going to stay either. I think that they're definitely going to re-sign Bourne. I think that Bourne he's projected to make a certain amount of money. I think he's going to come under that. I think he's going to be I think it's going to be a big signing bonus, back-ended deal where they're going to be able to cut off some of the money that they give them that they don't give him in the signing bonus. And I think that's how they're going to sign him. Other than that, obviously they got a draft to worry about. I mean, what are we going to do with Slay? I think Dallas Goedert's got to get his contract reorganized a little bit to be able to create some more cap space. They came out the other day and said that it was supposed to be 172. Now it's 181. So there's been $9 million added to the cap completely. So I think that I'm saying one. That's two or something. I think it's 281. But there's some work to do. But we have the youngest defense in the league. We had the number one defense in the league. I want to make sure that they keep that hunger. That's going to be the biggest deal. Are they going to remain as hungry as they were this year? And I think as long as they're able to keep that, Washington's going to have a lot to say about it because Washington has a ton of cap space. They have a good team already, and a lot of that good team is already still on the team. They don't have a ton of free agents, and they have all that cap space.
But
So
you don't
that's
think,
gonna be a
Pax,
big deal.
Washington overachieved the Commanders to an extent? I mean, they're not nearly as good as the Eagles in reality. I know they, got to the NFC Championship game, but weren't they a classic case of overachieving?
I think that there was a little bit of overachievement, but the one thing so overachievement shows, okay, your offense is able to score a lot of points. And when your offense can score a lot of points, you can win games in the NFL. It's the defense that needs the help right now. And when they have a ton of cap space, all of a sudden, defense is going to be able to get fixed pretty quickly. And I kind of believe that that's a real situation there. Like, I think that that's where you could see the biggest improvement. And then if their defense starts holding teams to under 27 points, like that, and that's a big improvement, kind of like keeping it under 24, 27 points, that they're going to win more games. I mean, they went 12-5 this year. I mean, nobody expected them to be where they were. I mean, well, except me. I said that they were going to jump over the Cowboys. I did say that at the beginning of the season last year, if you remember correctly. But that must have been something that I thought that was inflated.
In all fairness, Pax, 2 years ago, you said that as well, and the Cowboys went 12-5. So
correct. I thought that the Cowboys were going to implode. I was a year off. So, and I admitted to it. I said the Cowboys surprised me.
Okay.
I thought that they were going to do that, but.
See, Mac, Pax admits Pax owes up to things, unlike what you say about him.
Okay, you say so. Good morning, Sonia. How you doing this morning? Glad to have you with us.
Good morning, guys. Great to be here. Hope y'all are doing well. Sorry I'm tardy for the party.
Yeah, that's it is what it is. So Pags, let's talk about Washington again for a second. I guess Jaden Daniels hurt his ribs last year at the end of the season. I guess he's got injured ribs, broken ribs, whatever they are. They're worried about him playing in preseason. I don't know why they should be worried about it. They probably shouldn't play him anyway. But I guess the Bears is the first preseason game. I don't know if it's a Hall of Fame game or not, but I don't know why they're worried about Why are you worried about playing your number one quarterback in the preseason? I know most teams don't until at least the third game.
First off, I mean, are they suspecting that the rib injury is going to take 4 months? I mean, let's be for real. I mean, they're not playing preseason until August. So, I mean, I think that if he's doing all of the stuff he's supposed to do, he's a young kid. Put him in the cryo, chamber for a little bit every day. It's going to heal. I mean, at least that's what I think. The technology for health is so much greater than it used to be. To think that an injury now is going to hurt him in August, I think that's a way of being able to take some of the focus off of something else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Pags, you're right. If it was a box, he would be back in action. It wasn't going to take that long. But I think there's an external factor. There's a certain amount of pressure on these teams if there's a Hall of Fame game to play certain players part of the game for the TV ratings. The commissioner's office and the TV networks won't be happy if the Bears are playing the Commanders in that game. The Hall of Fame game, and Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels on the bench the whole game. No one's going to watch in reality. But if we know both of those guys,
nobody watches anyways. I don't remember
Dak
Dak Prescott playing in the Hall of Fame game last year, right? Dak didn't play in the Hall of Fame game last year, and that was Dallas that was in the Hall of Fame game.
Yeah, but there's a certain amount of pressure. I feel that they should make some type of appearance and play, part of the game.
I mean, I don't know about you guys. For me, I get so excited about football. I watch the Hall of Fame game, but then when you see that there's no marquee players, I you get a little bored, and then after a while, I just turn it off. But I initially tune in because I'm excited for football.
I watch it because I want to see my team's, rookies and their vets that might make the team or whatever. That's just me. So. Anyway.
But I don't watch the whole game though, just a little bit.
Yeah. So we do have something every week. It's called Just Ask Jack Trivia question. And this week, let's see what we got here for you, Jack. Which NBA player has won the most MVP awards, Jack? And, I don't want you to give me the answer right now if you know it. Yeah, this might be impossible. I might leave this on because I don't know if Jack can answer this question. He tried to divert me and have me do a hockey question after I said I didn't think he knew it, but he did know.
Who asked me the hockey question before the show, and I actually got it right, believe it or not.
I know.
I talked about it. The hockey question would have been up, and I would have gotten it right.
What was the hockey question?
The lady, Matt got it wrong. He said, "What is the Ladybug Trophy?" And I corrected him. I said, "It's the Lady Bing Trophy." And I said it was for the most gentlemanly player in the NHL. Matt was surprised I knew it, but he said Ladybug, so I corrected him on that account. But, yeah.
Hey, listen, Ladybug sounds better. What can I tell you? It sounds more like a nicer guy. Anyway, so Jack, I think you're just trying to. Prolong
this question is so obvious. That's why I'm going to get it wrong because it's so obvious. Oh, y'all answered now, right?
Well, you're not going to get it wrong, Jack. You got it, Jack. Go ahead.
I mean, I would have to just guess. I mean, Michael Jordan.
Not who I would have thought.
No.
He's got 5 too, right? He's got 5.
I think you're Googling this, James. I think you're Googling.
No, I know. I'm looking straight at the screen. How am I Googling?
I was thinking of Kareem, but no, I wouldn't, But, he played longer than Michael Jordan. But
it's Kareem.
But Kareem
I didn't even think it was Kareem either.
Magic.
I thought it was Russell.
No.
Bill Russell.
It's not. Is it Bill Russell? No, it's Kareem, right?
Yes, it is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
He's got one more than
Jordan had 6. I don't know
why.
He's got 5 championships, and maybe he got it. Yeah,
he was robbed a couple of times, just like LeBron. But I mean, Charles Barkley and what's the guy's name in Utah?
Karl Malone.
Karl, a couple of times, yeah. I mean, he won one too, so they won on his watch. MVP.
All right. There you go. James got it right. The rest of you got it wrong. There you go. So
I didn't even guess.
You didn't guess? Why not? You could have guessed.
Because I was gonna think it was Kobe.
He's got one.
That's not a bad guess.
He's got 3 or 1.
No, the problem is, Sonia.
Kobe's got 1.
When you have 2 legendary players on the same team playing years together, they kind of split the pie up. So one's not likely to get the most. Shaq would be playing with Kobe. That would be my logic for number of years. But then Kobe, he only has 1. That's a surprise because Kobe won 1 championships after Shaq left.
Yeah, I thought he had
4,
but okay.
I don't think it's a bad guess. So anyway. Let's do these commercials, folks. We'll be right back after it, and stick with us.
Introducing National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk programming that you can access 24/7. For the premier sports talk experience, tap into our Roku channel. Start your mornings with Mac and Jack covering all the weekend sports action. Then pour a cup and enjoy all the sports you can drink on the Coffee and Sports podcast. At midday, talk sports from east to west on the Coast to Coast podcast. Followed at night by some hot girl talk with Prim and Proper Sports featuring Sonia Pearson. Talk boxing on the Gloved Fist. Yankee fans tune in for Start Spreading the News. And there's more on the College Sports Huddle and Sports Scope with Robert Butler. There are 20 podcasts in all and 70 weekly shows giving us a 3.4-star viewer rating. To find us on Roku TV, search for National Streaming Sports on the Roku search bar. Click on the logo and you're in. National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk for America.
There seems to be hundreds of betting sites out there. Don't be fooled. Some sites are only legal in certain states. Some sites pay you in Bitcoin. Then you have to change it into dollars. One of the sites was even hacked. BetUS has been in business for over 30 years. My friend made a future bet, and by the end of the month has a 50% chance to make $17,000. You can bet on futures on anything. Who makes the Super Bowl? Who wins the Super Bowl with great odds? The National College Football Championship. The NBA games are up and going. And of course, you can bet on who wins the NBA championship. The WNBA is up and playing too. BetUS has all the casino games too, if you like that. Just scan the code on the right-hand corner, brings you to BetUS. NESSP.info also has BetUS links. Check it out and bet responsibly.
Yo, you already know it's your boy LCF. I just tore it up for Zodiac TV. Shout out DJ Epps. Oh man, it was great, man. We did an interview. Then I hit the stage. The crowd was amazing. They gave me all their energy. I gave them that energy back. Linked up with some dope artists in the building. Zodiac TV, man. Hey, we gonna celebrate for the rest of the night, you know what I mean? With some Bel Air. Shout out my nigga Rose. Holla at your boy. I mean, boss shit, you already know. But we tore it up, man. Performance was amazing. The set was amazing. Zodiac TV, shout out y'all boys, man. Thank you for having me. You already know I'm gonna come back. Your boy finna come back. Go to work, did it all for nothing. Make sure y'all go get that single, available on all platforms. Let's go.
My girl just told me that she pregnant, we expecting the jit. So I had to buckle down, accelerate, no slowing down. Some people, that's why I don't come around.
There you go, the commercial everybody likes to laugh at. And
No, Matt, just as Matt, a little suggestion, because we're not the biggest hockey guys except for Pags. So I just wanted Pags, to get his viewpoint on the Four Nation tournament that took place.
Okay, yeah, definitely.
Amazing. To have that much hype, to have the guys want to play. This was an all-star game. But they had a lot of pride in that all-star game. The whole Canada booing the national anthem and them coming out fighting for it. I thought that it was amazing. I thought that the whole process, excuse me, was done really well, and that obviously the Olympics are next year, so they're not going to be able to have that like that next year. But I think that this is the process moving forward. Why wouldn't it be?
You have things like the World Baseball Classic. Mac is of the opinion that professional teams shouldn't allow their star players to play in it, or should seriously consider not allowing them to play in it because of the risk of injury. But it's the same thing in hockey. Should then teams be able to withhold certain players?
I think that the NHL won't allow that. I mean, this is an NHL entity situation, so they have the final say, because the entity of the NHL controls all those teams. So if the team decides that they're not going to do it, not allow a player to play because of the fear of injury, not because he's already hurt, then I think that obviously the NHL is going to step in and be like, no, he's going to play. And especially something like this, hockey players, I feel more than maybe any other athlete in professional sports, maybe soccer, different, but in professional sports, hockey players have more national pride than I think like baseball players or basketball players, soccer players withstanding. I think that's a little different. So I feel that this was something that the NHL needed. I feel like that took the difference away where they have these outdoor games. This could be in lieu of those outdoor games. That this All-Star break actually showed so much excitement that I feel that it's something that will continue moving forward.
I agree with you,
Well,
Pags.
wait a minute, James. I'm not letting Jack get away with that. The MLB and the NHL are two different things. You're paying Aaron Judge whatever amount of millions of dollars a year, or whoever's on the field, millions of dollars a year. The hockey players aren't making anywhere close to that, and it's a different type of game. Even Doc thought it was stupid to have the MLB owners not telling their players not to play in that game. Even James agreed with them during the show. So it's not the same thing. And hockey is a different type of sport. And listen, I stand by it. There is no reason why they should be playing in a World Basketball Classic if it doesn't count for anything, and there's a chance of somebody getting hurt.
Wait, Mac. You wanted Kevin Durant withheld from the Olympics. You didn't think Phoenix should have allowed him to play in the Summer Olympics. So that goes for all the NBA stars. Don't allow them to play in the Summer Olympics. Don't allow baseball players to play in the Olympics or the World Baseball Classic and the international competition. Hockey players get injured too.
It's still not the same.
And you're talking about, well, Aaron Judge is making more money than any hockey player. But the hockey players are still an investment to their team, an investment to their league.
Listen, hockey can do whatever it wants to do. I'm telling you straight up that there is no reason that they should be playing a World Basketball or whatever, the competition, because it does nothing for them. Who even knows who won the last World Basketball Classic, Jack?
I don't think there's a World Basketball Classic.
Well, he means baseball.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, of course I do.
I know exactly who won.
Yeah.
Japan.
Ohtani struck out Mike Trout to end
Mike Trout
game.
against USA. I remember exactly who won. So I don't like it that it's in preseason. I think that's the more the fear. These guys are supposed to be working on with their teams. So I feel that if preseason or spring training was earlier and they did that, or they did it right after, like they go to Arizona and they do the World Classic after the World Series, that might have a better thing. So like you give them time afterwards to kind of relax and get stuff. They send players, like baseball players, different than every other sport. Baseball players play baseball year round. So you have guys that go from playing Major League Baseball, then get sent down to the fall league in like Arizona and Mexico and sometimes South America, and then come back up to play, and they're playing all year long.
I mean,
so,
it's not.
Ken.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. I mean, but it's not like they're not getting paid at all. Because, for instance, the All-Star team, whoever wins, they split like $125,000 between each player. So, I mean, it doesn't sound like a lot, but it is, considering they got out there and played and won. I don't know what the loser gets, but I know the winner gets that.
I think it's like 60 and 120. I think it's something like that. And that's all pocket change for them. You know, like that's spending money. That's going out to the club and getting that Bel Air, whatever that is that they're buying. Yeah.
Oh, Matt, could I bring this up? We didn't discuss it before the show. I know you'll get a kick out of this and the reaction around the panel, especially with you being a Giant fan. The talk is that the Giants are putting up a minority percentage for minority owners, and that Floyd Mayweather seems to be bidding against Eli Manning, the report is, for 10% of the Giants. Now, Mayweather has more money than Manning, unless he's blown it, which I wouldn't be completely shocked if he has, the way he spends. But he's made a lot more money than Eli Manning has. How would you feel if there's a bid and it goes to Floyd Money Mayweather, the 10% of the Giants, instead of Eli Manning, because Mayweather can deliver the loot?
From what I read, it's a $700 million that he said he's going to give the Giants for part owner, with a lot of money. Eli Manning, of course, doesn't have that money, as you said. So it's going to be up to the Giants. Do you want the money, or do you want to go with your guy? Do you want to go with Eli, or do you want to go with the money? So we'll see what they do.
I never realized he had that much more money than Eli.
Oh, yeah.
Crazy.
Oh, yeah, it's not even close. Not even
close.
Dang.
I mean, he pockets his own pay-per-view, right? I mean, when he boxed, he pocketed most of his pay-per-view money.
Oh.
Yeah, he made an incredible amount. But he spends so freely. Yeah. Like, I could safely say someone like LeBron James is going to be incredibly wealthy his whole life, because LeBron is sensible, it seems, by all accounts. He spends a lot of money, but he does it prudently. Mayweather just throws money left and right. I mean, I don't think he really has a sense of what's what with spending. But when you have so much, and you're making interest, it might take a number of years before you become somewhat tapped out.
Well, he fights. He still fights, I think, and he promotes, right? He's got a promoting agency. So.
No, his promotional group isn't doing anything at all. So if you get that, that's relevant. Yeah. And he had some exhibitions to try to make some income, because this way he could keep his unbeaten record, not risk anything. But his exhibition tours kind of went flat. And so we'll see. But if you're the Giants, it's kind of hard, because Eli Manning is a legacy player. He means so much to the Giant image, so much to their brand. That's what I always said about Saquon Barkley, why he should have been a career Giant. Certain guys, you want their name to be there forever. It's good that Eli Manning is always going to be a legacy player with the Giants. That's important for any team. That's why I was saying with Pete Alonso with the Mets, you kind of want legacy players if you can have one. Like Jason Kelce with the Eagles, a legacy player. You like kind of guys like that in the organization.
Yeah, Pags, I don't know if you saw it, but Jason Kelce was talking about the tush push and how being the center was very hard to do during the games, So that was interesting to me.
Yeah, I mean, because it's all required on the center. Truth of the matter is that the center, amongst everybody else, has got to get the ball to the quarterback, make sure that handoff is done properly without fumbling, and then he's got to be the lowest guy. If whoever's lowest in that pile wins the tush push, then that's the answer to that. So, that's the one thing that you always see people jumping over the top, trying to pull back from the behind. The truth of the matter is that if you can knock the legs out of the center and get underneath of him first, you're going to be able to move that whole line backwards. And that's what some of these defenses can't seem to figure out.
Yeah, it's a very, very hard to stop. And of course, as you know, a lot of teams have been trying to say to ban it.
Absolutely.
They've talked about that every year.
You know what, though?
They'll be able to.
And so the Eagles do it obviously better than everybody else. The rest of the league is only at 48%. The Eagles are at 90%. and everybody else is at 48, which tells me that play, that's just a play that the Eagles have perfected that nobody else can seem to do.
That's why they gave you guys the name of saying tush push, because everybody knows it's just a quarterback sneak. But because you guys have done it so differently, it's now the tush push. But absolutely, get rid of that. It's sickening. Sorry,
I don't
Pat.
know.
Sorry,
It's
Pat. I'm happy you guys won, though. I'm happy y'all
it's
won and
also
beat the Chiefs. I am happy about that. So congrats.
Hey, listen, but so Sonia, if all of a sudden Carolina
I knew it.
was able to figure this out and do
Yeah.
this better than anybody else, like they were at 75%, we'll say,
The
all
second
of a sudden, is it
impact.
better?
You're mentioning the Panthers. They made some big news. They signed Andy Dalton to a 2-year extension.
Yes, they did.
Big
Why
news.
did you?
Panther big news in the
Why did you give Jack that ammunition? I wanted him to really go the
2
whole
years,
show.
6
I just
million,
wanted to go
6
one
million
show.
total. It could go up to 10 million with incentives.
I just wanted to have one show this entire month. My own birthday month, this last Sunday of the month, that Jack would not come for me. And the only way he didn't come for me was the 2 Sundays I wasn't on air. Other than that, he's made a point. Last week he talked about me driving when I was under the weather, and he tried to call me out as an unsafe driver live on air. So if anything happened, there's that footage out there that I was driving while on live, even though I had a handheld device, hands-free device. And now today it's about the Panthers. And you know what, Jack? Worry about what's going to happen in the Jets without the Panthers.
I'm glad you
He's
mentioned
the main
that.
news. He's the main news. That shit-type mushroom sniffer, whatever he is, has contaminated your entire organization. Worry about what happens up there.
But I'm glad you mentioned that, Sonia, because we're already plotting. You know, the Panthers go 8th in the draft and the Jets go 7th, one spot before. So we're probably going to steal the player you want, right? The player that they're hoping in the Panther draft room that they're going to get. The Jets are going to nab them one pick before.
I'd be willing to bet that doesn't happen.
I can't wait. I'm going to text you. I can't wait. I'm so excited.
Listen,
I think they're both great at drafting. That'll be a fantastic pick, I'm sure.
Exactly.
I think that was a good signing. Andy Dalton did have a couple games where Bryce Young was out and did do okay. The old Red Rifle did all right, and he knows the playbook. He's experienced, and hopefully Bryce Young doesn't get hurt and has a good season.
Exactly. Thank you, Mac. Thanks for that. Wow.
You're welcome.
Listen, I think that Carolina actually has a chance next year to actually do some improving, especially in that division. That they won't be bringing up the rear next year.
Thank you, Pat. I feel that way as well. Yeah, Jack.
Unfortunately, James is going to be the one that's got to be crying because he's going to be the one that brings up the rear.
Exactly. Back to where they belong.
Back to where we belong?
No, I'm talking about Jack.
Oh, no, he's talking about me. He said me.
Oh, I thought he said
in that division.
I got faith in Aaron Glenn. Aaron Glenn will do a good job with the Jets here. Next year is supposed to be a really outstanding quarterback draft class next year. So it could benefit the Saints. If the Saints have a terrible year and they could pick all the way at the top of the draft, it could be a blessing in disguise because they are going to need a quarterback in the future. I mean, we can agree on that. I mean, maybe Derek Carr could have a halfway decent year next year, but he's not the guy going forward.
I mean, looking at the way, I'm sorry, I don't want to keep punching on this because I know we're probably going to have a bad year, but I like the trajectory with this new coach, and he got his. I see you got it down there. He got his defensive coordinator in Staley as well. So I'm looking forward to what we do in the future. But yes, this upcoming season is probably not going to be so great.
Yeah, well,
they got to give him time.
Yeah,
they screwed over this coaching staff with all the free agencies and that high salary cap. I mean, there's hardly any room. So, they
got extra money. They got $53 million extra for salary now. So,
yeah, they're going to have to depend heavily on the draft and rebuild over there. So, I don't know how the Saints fans. Hopefully they're more they're more patient than the Patriot fans are. That's all. So,
listen,
we'll see
Saints
what
fans,
happens.
have a history of being able to, wait it out. They've had the bags over their heads for a long time. Then all of a sudden they won a Super Bowl. They took the bags off, so they could put the bags back on again for a little bit. It's like that's where the bag thing came from. That's where they used to have the paper bags over their heads.
It's New Orleans, right, for sure.
I think there's a story that's going to develop next year with the Eagles, and I don't like talking this way. You might object, but A.J. Brown, it was developing somewhat this year. Eagles won the Super Bowl. He caught a touchdown pass in the Super Bowl. Everyone went home happy. But if next season the passing game, they don't put emphasis on the passing game as much as they did, more so than they did last year. A.J. Brown might start becoming a little unhappy, and he might be starting to get a little long in the tooth, A.J. Brown. He's still really good, but maybe he's not quite in his prime. He might be gently backtracking a little bit. I could see that happening. I know what happened last year, but there might be some discontent going on next season, perhaps, if A.J. Brown isn't the main guy on offense for Jalen Hurts. If it's Saquon Barkley again.
He looked dominant in those last couple of games.
I'm like, what is he talking about?
I just let Dak talk sometimes.
A.J. Brown was unhappy last year.
Because he wasn't getting the ball, but he's not long in the tooth.
Yeah, I don't have the book in front of me, but inner excellence says, do not worry about others, worry about yourself. I think that was rule number 3 on the inner excellence book. He was reading that on the sidelines. Maybe
Yes,
if the Jets read that book a little bit, they would have known better. Who's going to be quarterback of the Jets this year?
Right, Jack. You can't say nothing. Everybody got something for you today.
Good. You know who I think is going to be the quarterback of the Jets? I think it's going to be Justin Fields. If you're asking me what it's going to wind up, and I'm not sure what to make out of Justin Fields. I'd like to hear everyone else. I'm in the middle. Potentially, he could be a starting quarterback in the league, or he could just be a tweener. He's too good to be a backup, but is he good enough to be a starter?
Well, I think that's probably not a bad pick for you guys because your offensive line is garbage. So you're going to need to run for your life. That was the problem with Rodgers this year, is that he didn't have the time to be able to let any of these plays develop because your offensive coordinator was real big on having plays that took like 4 seconds to develop. Well, that's the problem when you don't have 4 seconds to wait for that to happen, and he starts to have to run, and Rodgers can't run. I'm faster than Rodgers right now. So it's like that. I think that was part of the issue that you were running into last year. So you're going to need a quarterback that is faster on his feet, maybe make faster decisions, and, is it maybe a younger guy that's going to be able to develop with draft picks and wide receivers that are young rather than having to deal with Rodgers, who's sniffing mushrooms.
Yeah, and the Jets, honestly, the Jets were trying to make Rodgers be the Rodgers he was in Green Bay, and you cannot bring the same player from a different organization and expect them to be the same exact mirror image of who they were. There are definitely some details that are very vital that they are the same. But as far as, the consistency and the maturation with, meshing with the new team, there's going to be a learning curve there. And those are the things that Rodgers missed because he wasn't there. He didn't partake in, these preseason activities with his team. And you guys need to be focused.
He went away a few days in June. That's the only time he missed. He was with all the
No. And you know what? And while you guys are at it, Jack, you need to go ahead and let Sauce Gardner go to a team that can benefit him. Because right now, that young man had a lot of talent, and the sauce is dried up right now because of the snake.
That's Aaron Rodgers' fault. If Sauce Gardner, cornerback, didn't have as good a year as the year before, do you blame Aaron Rodgers?
Yes.
Absolutely. Okay.
A team is only as strong as their quarterback. Everybody knows that. That's supposed to be your leader. He's running around sniffing mushrooms, anti-vax and all this stuff causing a commotion. That has toxified, if there's such
Sniffing
a word,
mushrooms. I love
your
that.
organization.
That is so funny. The sniffing mushrooms. I love that. It's
Thank you, Peg.
And the sauce is dried up, so they love that line too. So there you go. So let's turn the Philadelphia offensive coordinator. I think it's Perwalt Pags, the new offensive coordinator. The offense is happy as hell. He's the new offensive coordinator. He's been there for 4 years. He's worked with Kellen Moore. So really, the Eagles' offense should not really skip a beat.
I don't suspect that it will. Sometimes I wish they would go outside of the organization. I understand why they stayed within the organization this time around, especially after coming off of a Super Bowl victory. You want to try to keep things as much the same as possible. They also didn't want him to be stolen away by by the Saints. So there's pieces of me that understands exactly what they did here. He's worked with Sirianni over the last 4 years, so they have a good rapport and be able to do things. Hey, listen, it's going to be tough to run it back. It's not easy to get back to the Super Bowl after you did it, and this is only the second time ever that a team has played 21 games. Yeah, the Chiefs did it a couple of years back, so it's like I feel that this is going to be a test on them to see if they can run it back. And are they going to be able to start to set their own dynasty? Because truth of the matter is that if they were to go back to the Super Bowl next year, you could start to put them in the conversation with those dynasty teams where, hey, they've gone to the Super Bowl, 3 out of 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
That starts to put that into that dynasty talk. I don't like to talk that. I don't want to say, hey, I want them to run it back, but I'm not saying, hey, listen, we're back-to-back champions and that's guaranteed. I'm not saying that. If I did my way too early prediction this year, I got the Birds and the Bills in the bowl.
There are
next year.
Wait a minute, Jack. There are a lot of good teams in NFC, right? You got Detroit, who still has a good team. The Packers look like if Love can stay healthy, they could make a run at it. San Fran, if they get healthy,
Minnesota,
they may take a run. Minnesota, definitely. Minnesota. I mean, the
Carolina,
NFC North. NFC North is going to be good again this year. Carolina has a couple of years.
I want all y'all to remember that laugh. I want you to save that clip where the reaction, because yeah,
they're going to be better. I'll give them that.
Oh, NFC South champs, that's for sure. Playoff bound. Thank you.
I won't hold my breath on that, but
great.
But I'm rooting for you. I'm rooting for you.
Thank you, Eggs.
Where's the first?
So the Eagles will have some competition this year, that's for sure.
Absolutely. But I tell you, the North isn't going to be as strong as it was last year. Right. The fact that all three of those teams played so well and then went out in the first playoff game is more of a testament to the teams that they played during the season in comparison. Now, I could give Detroit a little bit of a pass because they had 22 injuries on their defensive side alone. That's a big deal. That even next man up mentality can only cover so much.
They may regress though, because losing both strong coordinators is going to be a tough thing to replace. So it's really hard. And then, like you said, that defense, are they going to bounce back? From the injuries. That's a big question as well.
I think the 49ers championship window's closed. It doesn't mean they won't make the playoffs. And I think the Vikings had as good a year as they can have. They're not going to get better and take it up a notch. So I think the biggest threat to the Eagles would be the Packers, who have upside. But this is next season. And maybe still the Lions, because the Lions still have great personnel. So I don't think the Lions window is quite closed, even though they just barely missed out on the Super Bowl the last couple of years. I take back the word barely last year, but they had a great year last year, regular season. And I think they're a serious threat to the Eagles again this year.
I think Washington actually has a play.
I do
and
too.
and I know that
Yeah.
this may be unpopular with this panel, but I think Tampa Bay only needs a couple of pieces to be able to start to become a little bit more of a power. I feel like that if they can keep most of their team intact and add a real good edge rusher, like that was the one thing that I felt like they were missing. They didn't get any pressure on the quarterbacks. So obviously they beat us in the beginning of the season in the hottest day of the year, after the hurricane and stuff like that. So there's something to be said for that. But that being said, I feel that they have a good enough team right now that if they add the correct pieces, they could be a power that I think beats Green Bay. I think Green Bay is on the downside of theirs now. They have to retool a little bit to get
Okay.
back to where they want it, where they
Well,
want it.
let us all play GM for 1 second. You're Tampa Bay, and if what Pax is saying is correct, and it is, if they have a great pass rusher, Myles Garrett, you could trade for him. Do you give 2 number 1s, a number 2, and a number 3 for Myles Garrett if you're Tampa Bay? And if you're Cleveland, is that enough?
Well, the Browns said he ain't going anywhere. I just read they're not trading him. No way. That's not happening. That's not going to happen.
Trading him until he
Secondly,
starts complaining more, Mac, and then they feel under pressure and then they work out the best deal. That's how it always works.
secondly, the quarterback. Listen, Baker Mayfield is not a Super Bowl quarterback. He's short. He throws interceptions. He's okay, but he's not a Super Bowl quarterback. He's not a franchise quarterback.
I remember you telling me about Russell Wilson being great going to Denver, and then I said, no. I disagree with you a little bit. I like Baker Mayfield. I think his offense trusts him. I think that he won. I want to say Baker Mayfield won 3 games specifically for Tampa Bay this past year. And that got them into the playoffs. Now, in the playoffs, they ran up against Washington, who was a buzzsaw at the time. And I feel like that defense couldn't handle it. And that's the difference. Their offense was putting the points on the board. Their defense couldn't stop Washington. And that's what you learned in the playoffs. In the playoffs, all the problems that you have with your team come to light.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where it all shows through. And that's what happened in the Tampa Bay game. You had Washington come in there and they really exposed that defense. Now, does that mean that they go into this season with the same defense? Not if I was Tampa Bay. If I'm the general manager of Tampa Bay, I am shoring it up. Now, am I going to give away 2 first-round picks, a second and a third for Myles Garrett? I don't think I'm going to go that route. But I do know I have some money, and I got Josh Sweat, who just hired Drew Rosenhaus, and I'm maybe going to put some money towards him to have him become an edge rusher and have him on my team. He just won a Super Bowl, so he's going to have that swagger about him a little bit, and it won't cost me the draft picks by signing him in this grand scheme of things.
I just want to say, Tags, I actually agree with the sentiment about Tampa Bay. I mean, I don't think our division as a whole has the whole rivalry that we can't see, at least about Tampa Bay. We don't want to admit it, even though Baker is a former Panther. I feel like if they had gotten Brian Burns this year instead of sending him to New York, I think Tampa would have been much better this quarter. And I mean this season, excuse me. So there's that.
And so what I would consider doing a second and a third round for is for Sauce Gardner if I was Tampa Bay. I would maybe consider getting Sauce Gardner and getting him from the Jets and giving up a second or a third round pick for him.
They're not going to trade Sauce just for a second or third round.
Well, second and a third. You know what I mean? I don't think he's worth a first, but I think that you could.
He was worth a first.
I think he still will get a first. I mean, this 1 year. I wanted to say something about Tampa Bay, like Sonia alluded to. I watched them as well. I think they're a lot better than people think, and Baker Mayfield is a bit underrated. But one thing is that's also underrated about them is their run offense. Those three guys they had a running back really made. I'm trust me as a Saints fan, I got to see it firsthand. They ran all over us, and the kid out of Oregon,
Bucky.
yeah.
Bucky is a player. He's a player.
Yeah. Fourth round pick, they got a steal in that guy, and so that's why both Sonya and I don't really want to see when we play them, but they definitely are good, and that helps Baker Mayfield out. Baker he's really I like to come out of Oklahoma and he was decent in Cleveland as well, but what Max said about him being a Super Bowl quarterback, I think maybe he has a window for 1 good year to try to get there back. I think at some point. So Tampa is pretty much the team of the South right now.
And then they got to sign they got to sign their wide receiver back too. That's going to be a free agent.
Chris Godwin.
No. Yeah. And you talk about that division with the Falcons. We're going to find out next season. It's Michael Penix Jr., their quarterback in the future. I mean, they're counting on that being the case, and he's going to be given every opportunity. But what happens if they find out Michael Penix isn't their guy next season? Atlanta.
That's exactly been my point, Jack. And Jay Train and I talked about that Friday because we have one of our panelists is a Falcons fan, and I literally said the same thing. I was like, you guys pay Kirk Cousins all this money, you got to release him before March 11th, or you're gonna have to pay this other $90 million. And what happens? Who do you go to if Michael Penix? Because let's be clear. Michael Penix came into the draft higher than what we thought, but he also has been injured in every quadrant of his body. He's already an injured quarterback coming into the draft. And so not just one injury, but like I said, every quadrant of his body, which is going to be major when you're talking about being the starting quarterback for the whole team for the whole season. So it's going to be interesting to see because I don't know who their plan B is because nobody ever knows who it is. I mean, what do? Do you go try to find you a backup quarterback that's a veteran quarterback? But this is Atlanta's story every year. It's their year because they're missing his quarterback and they're going through them like clinics.
And I'll tell you who's going to wind up in Atlanta. Carson Wentz.
Really?
I think Carson Wentz makes a good backup for Penix.
I didn't even think about Carson Wentz.
And I think he's got some left in the tank. I think that actually would be a good pickup for them. They could get him at probably a medium salary of about like $8 to $10 million a year for the backup. And I think that that's a good fit for Carson Wentz.
You're now on the board. Let me to Pags. It says Hassan Reddick. Did the Jets still want him? Of course not. But who fleeced who more? Did my Jets fleece you more with you taking Bryce Huff, or did you fleece us more with Hassan Reddick? Who got the worst of that?
Well, see, it's tough. That was a lose-lose situation. That was definitely a lose-lose situation. You know what? Sometimes, listen, out of all the things that Howie did, that Huff is the one mistake. And truth of the matter is that this goes back to what I said last week. I feel that Vic Fangio needs a younger player, and Huff was more of a veteran, and he didn't want to put in the work. And because he didn't put in the work, Vic didn't play him, and because Vic didn't play him, he wound up not being a healthy scratch for the Super Bowl.
Exactly.
And that's a big deal. That's a big deal. So he's going to get dropped. They're going to eat his salary a little bit. You know, he's going to be gone before March 11th, and then he's going to wind up being able to re-sign with the Jets, actually. Does that mean that Hassan Reddick's going to do the same thing? I think Hassan Reddick actually learned last year that you don't always get what you want, and that he may want to come back home here. And will he take a Philly discount? I doubt it, but I think you could get him back at a decent price now because you're not going to be able to
He
sign
was
him.
awful when he played. He was awful.
He sat out for 9 weeks.
When he got in, he was awful. He didn't
because
do
he didn't
anything.
even.
He was missing in action when he was.
He had 10 weeks off, and then he came in, and it takes 4 weeks to get accustomed to things, and he was slow. He was slow by the 10th week of the season, or the 11th week of the season,
He's a
they're
year
already at
older. His value is down. No one is going to give him a decent contract, not even for 1 year. No
You want to
one.
bet? You want to bet? I bet
Who-
you. I
who
bet you he
might?
gets. Well, I think that the Eagles will probably give him somewhere in the neighborhood of about $10 million. I think that any team is going to give him in the neighborhood of about $10 million.
I'm going to tell you what the Eagles might do. Howie Roseman is such a genius. Listen, I wouldn't be shocked if he pulls off a blockbuster for Myles Garrett. He gives up X amount of draft capital. It would be major, huge.
Yeah, and I tell you, the reason why he's not going to do that is because we've already had this discussion, and we talked about it a little bit. And what they're asking is, I think, too much. They want 2 first-rounders, and they want Devonta Smith. You know, and that you're right. I'm not giving that up. I'm not giving that up. And
I don't know why.
that's what they.
I don't know why Jack continues to say Cleveland's giving away Myles Garrett. I just read it today. They're not giving him away. I don't care if he retires.
They're not giving him away, but they are saying they want to keep him because they want to keep the value up. If the moment that they say they're looking to trade him, then all of a sudden the value goes down. By saying this is gamesmanship here.
Listen. Mac and Sonia are very trusting. They take these GMs at their word.
You know what?
James
Don't put me in this whole GM talk.
Jay
Okay?
Train understands and packs that it's a business.
I'm looking up some stats right now about your garbage Jets. Okay, worry about them. I got something for you in about 2 seconds.
The Cleveland Browns, I think, will within the next few years are going to be competitive again. Myles Garrett will be there to help them along.
Nah,
he does making sacks. He'll be there. He'll be there guiding the new team.
There's nothing worse than having a disgruntled player on your team.
Exactly.
He does not want to be there. Clearly, he said it. You don't say it out in public unless there's a money dispute. Is he in a contract year? I don't think he wants it. He even said it. He said outright that championships are more important than individual stats. And I mean, he wants to go somewhere where he can contend. So you got to think about teams where he's going to be. He's not going to. He sees that. I don't know how old he is, but he's probably seeing how much he has in his peak to where he can
play there. If I'm not mistaken.
He's 29 years old. He's 29, and he
wants to go.
That's what I was just reading. He wants to go. He wants to go.
But Sonia could vouch for this with Burns when he was on the Panthers. I don't know whether you agree with me, Sonia. No. You want to trade someone when they have their highest value. Now, the Panthers were offered 2 number ones by the Rams, and they didn't make the deal, and they got so much less when they traded them a year later. So, right, Sonia, isn't it all about timing?
That right there is like the one irritant that I have got with the Panthers for the last, at least one of the major ones for the last season. When I heard that, I was just beyond shocked. When you make bad management decisions and your timing is off, that could be crucial to what happens to your whole team, because missing out on 2 first-round picks from the freaking Rams, and now you got to sell him to the Giants for, I don't know, basically breadcrumbs. Like, it's crazy. And it was and Panthers fans, because I'm in some groups, all said the same thing. They were just like, we're getting like crumbs for this guy. And this was our number 1 edge rusher, and he was worth so much more. But you let him sit, and it's just like letting something like food or whatever sit on the shelf. At some point, it's going to perish, and it's going to lose its value. It's not as value as when you first got it. And that's exactly what's happening. If you don't go ahead and let Garrett go while he wants to go, who's going to take a game on him next year? And what's going to happen in freaking Cleveland, of all places, with the whole issues they continue to have at the number 1 position? That's going to affect the whole trade value of everybody that plays on that team, because people are going to be like, okay, this is the stats that this person's putting up because they have quarterback issues. If you have a quarterback issue, it's a trickle-down effect to all of your players on at least the offense.
I don't know if that has anything to do with Myles Garrett, but listen, you're right about Brian Burns. He was probably our 2nd most effective defensive lineman last year. So it was good pickup for the Giants. So San
And not for
Francisco.
nothing. I mean, I understand, and I don't mean to cut you off here, but if I'm Cleveland, if I'm playing the general manager of Cleveland, and I know all of the things that I know now, like, all right, we made the wrong decision with the quarterback. We did. I would start to try to get draft capital for anything I could. I'd start to not necessarily lose on purpose, but like try to field as best a team as I can, but get the draft capital and start to really work this out. Start now, me personally, that means starting to figure out the offensive line. Get offensive line and defensive linemen in. Start to win the trenches as best as you can. And that would mean keeping Myles Garrett, but Myles Garrett is worth more getting the picks and getting newer guys to come in. So that's where I kind of figure that out. I would try to find somebody who's got 2 picks in the first round this year who wants an edge rusher. And like that's how I would start. And I would start to rebuild my offensive line, my defensive line, and worry about the future 3 years from now. And you said next year you're going to have it's a great quarterback draft. Find the quarterback who's going to do it for you. And then the following year, start to find the extra pieces, the wide receivers and everything that's going to make it and try to make a run 3 years from now. Super Bowl 62 is where I want to be prime to try to actually win that division, get above Joe Burrows, because I think at that point Lamar Jackson is going to be at the downside of his career. Again, we're talking a couple of years from now that he's going to be on the slower side now, and that you're going to have a better opportunity to start to really go hold. But it's a 3-year plan. You got to think about this in 3 years. You can't be thinking about next year. And that sucks for every Browns fan to hear, but that's real. And that's how you start to make a real franchise. That's how things start to happen.
Okay. San Francisco linebacker DeVore Campbell, not revealing why he quit and he was suspended, saying, "I know the truth and don't care to clear anything up." So that was what he said during a press conference there. Sounds like a very something had to happen in the locker room for him to react that way. And it's San Francisco. You don't hear this about a San Francisco 49er team either. Normally, everything is pretty kosher in there.
No, they keep a lot of that stuff in house. I mean, think about this with the Bartolota, the owners and stuff like that, and how craziness is. Listen, nothing is ever as it seems in San Francisco. They are very good at pulling the rug over the problems and keeping it very hush. This was something I think that this had something to do specifically with him and John Lynch. I think that they actually probably got almost close to blows, or like it was something very, very heated. And I think that that's what caused this. And that's why he's keeping his mouth shut, because you don't want. I think it's very smart of him to do this because he's not a cancer and he doesn't want to be labeled as a cancer by talking too much. And I think that that's part of this. So he's showing that, hey, I don't like what happened. I know the truth of what happened, but that stays with me. I'm not going to air out dirty laundry because I don't want another team to think that I'm that type of guy.
I mean, but he was unhappy because when the main star came back, they weren't fielding him anymore. Even though you were the second guy, it's like being the backup quarterback. And when you should know that the main star is out, that you're filling in while this person is recovering or whatever's going on. So for you to say, okay, I'm just not going to play anymore because the main star comes back, that's part of being on the team though, right?
No, see, I look at it much differently. I look at it as they said that he was going to be the main guy, and then the other guy came back from injury, and then like, okay, so that changes the way that you perceive it now.
Yeah.
So, and I believe that that's probably more likely what occurred. But I wasn't there. I wasn't in the room. But that I tell you, something like that, when you have the general manager, John Lynch, who was a player, who's got bravado too, who's got the ego, he's got the rings to prove it, and say, okay, this is what I'm doing here, and I'm telling you this stuff, I'm buttering you up, and then when it comes back, I'm actually I'm throwing the bet in the trash. That's kind of what I feel like happened here, and that's why he got angry and upset.
I mean, that's the same thing that happened with Deontay Johnson that the Panthers traded to the Ravens, and then like he just started going from team to team because he was like refusing to play. It's just I don't know what's going on this season. I'm just like all these millions of dollars, and Mac probably agrees. All this money you all are getting, at the end of the day, I get that you want to be number one, but if you're getting paid though, right, guys? Like you're still getting paid to be there. It's such a very competitive sport to even get to the NFL. Why would you just like say like I'm walking out, I quit? Like that's a once in a lifetime opportunity to play in the league, and it's so easy to blow it.
No, Sonia, you're 100% correct, but it happens in all sports. Look at even baseball, the Boston Red Sox. They signed Alex Bregman, a potential Hall of Fame third baseman, as a free agent, paid him big money. But they already have Rafael Devers, their franchise player, at third. And Devers says, I'm not moving to second base. And Bregman, that's a guy, Alex Cora, the manager who was with him at Houston, wants as his third baseman. But how's he going to move him there? Devers went public and said, I'm not moving. Right there, you're going to have turmoil. You could take an attitude and be old school the way Mac is. And I mean this as a compliment, Mac. And say, no, you're going to play where I tell you to play. You got a contract. If you don't like it, you're going to be on the bench. And you could call their bluff and put a play on the bench and hope they come around. But how do you handle it? How do you handle a modern athlete? You tell me.
Right. I got you.
I think you handle them by being firm. I think you've got to be firm with a lot of these guys because they'll walk all over you. And if you feel that third baseman is your best chance at having a great third baseman, well, then Nevers, you got to move to second, I guess. I mean, or whatever you got to do. If you want to sit down, sit down. But I don't know. I mean, that's what I would try to do anyway.
I think it's onus for any team that pressure coach. Even take Nick Sirianni, just won a Super Bowl. He's riding high. But believe me, he has to please Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman, his superiors. He might want to discipline a player, Nick Sirianni, who talks back to him. He might want, if a starter talked back to Nick Sirianni and he wanted to get his message across and put that play on the practice squad for 1 week, he wouldn't be able to do it. Jeffrey Lurie, Howie Roseman, he knows would be unhappy. And how much power do some of these coaches and managers have? It all comes to the top with ownership. If you know ownership has your back 100% and lets you do what you want, in other words, the days of Vince Lombardi seem to be over.
I mean, but that's why you're the manager. That's why you're the coach. That's why you're the leader. Like they put you in place to put these implements of who plays, who does what, and it's kind of like a hierarchy. The players are subjective to the coach and whoever their coordinators are. You don't come in there just with the I mentality. Like I'm playing where I want to play and I'm playing what I want to play when I want to play it. And you're getting this money. Like what's the purpose of being there? Go form your own league at this point.
And I think that, it depends on who the coach is, right? I mean, if it's Mike Tomlin, I don't think the ownership's going to mess with him. If it's a weaker coach, the ownership would probably mess with him. So I think that has a lot to do with it.
Well, I mean, I think Nick Sirianni is actually a perfect example of this, where he was like, okay, hey, he's so far in the league. He's been a head coach for 4 years. He's been to 2 Super Bowls. He won the last one. But I think he also knows where he fits in the scheme of things. Last year, if you remember, him and Howie both had to go to Jeffrey Lurie with the plan for this year. Like, what are we doing this year? And they executed that plan to perfection because they won a Super Bowl. That's the goal, to win the Super Bowl. Now, I would love for them to follow the same path that they did. What is their plan for this year? Let's make sure that we're all on the same page and do it now, because we've lost We've lost another, offensive coordinator again. We have to play this game again. It's not easy to go back to back, but we got to all have the same plan. We got to have all the same idea and the same goals at stake, and all execute them the way that we want to do it. And if we execute it the way we want to, there's no reason why we can't win.
Yeah, I guess it depends on the team too, right? The players on the team too. Yeah.
I mean, think about it. The fact that Schoen has still got a job is amazing to me.
Mac, you mentioned Mike Tomlin. He has a player, George Pickens, who's been a pain in the butt, very talented wide receiver. But you get the feeling Tomlin can do whatever he wanted with this player, but he's tolerating him within his own boundaries, more or less. But if he wanted to move on to George Pickens, I agree with you with the Steelers that Tomlin would be able to make the move.
I think they're going to move on. So. Yeah.
Did y'all see that clip where? Did y'all see that clip where Mike Tomlin? Somebody had asked him about Antonio Brown, saying he wanted to come back and play for free, and Mike Tomlin just walked off. He didn't even address the comment. That's how Mike Tomlin coaches, and so he is not going to address you. Certain teams put up with certain BS from certain players. Pittsburgh is not a franchise that puts up with, I don't want to play because I'm not happy in this position. They'll just be like, you're out of here.
I agree. We'll try and get back to football again, but I'm going to get to some MLB topics. The New York Yankees changed their policy on beards. You can now have a well-trimmed beard and play for the New York Yankees. Now, at one time, of course, you couldn't do that. I get it, but I kind of think traditionally wise, they didn't have their names on the back at one time, and now they're letting players wear beards. I kind of think it's I don't like it anyway.
Getting away from the tradition. That's the thing. This is what we talk about. Everything is changing, and all of us on this panel, for the most part, are kind of like, let's stick with the core values that we've all come up with. And you have newer generational gaps, younger people that are coming in like, oh, we don't like this, let's change this. Oh, we don't like this, let's change this. That is sad to me, because some things, when you remove the things that make us unique and different, that's when you remove certain integrities of what was actually formed. I don't actually like that. If you want to come work for me, these are the things I have in place for my employees or for people that are on my team. So now you're saying, okay, like you said, Mac, oh, you guys can wear a beard. That may be subtle at some point, because guys should have a right to wear a beard if they want to. That's just my personal opinion. But is it just a beard today and tomorrow, oh, all of a sudden we're seeing McGrath on the back of a jersey? Whoa. It's the subtle stuff. We always talk about truth versus a lie. All it takes is a little bit of a lie to change the truth into a lie. And we don't see it. It's the subtle stuff. And so here we go now. We're changing. So I don't know if this is just the beginning of a big change 5-10 years from now or what, but I don't, if you come play for this team, you shouldn't be wearing a beard. Don't even try out for that team if you know that you want to wear a beard, is my thing.
What happens if you trade it to a team that has a no mustache, no beard thing, and you've won one basically your whole adult life? I agree with what you're saying. When you're in the workforce, if you want the job, you have to adhere to it. But then again, these are like adults. What's so wrong about having a mustache and beard if it's well trimmed? But what about the dress code? That's another thing too. I'm not sure what the answer is. I also thought about the national anthem with standing, this or that. But what happens if you have a kid in elementary school who doesn't want to stand for the national anthem? They just want to sit. Then you wonder how far should freedom of speech and expression go as well. I don't know the answers to these things.
I think you have to look at this is about management or about ownership. They're the ones that decided to allow it to happen. They're looking at, okay, we can lax on that a little bit. And they said neat and trim. They didn't say wild and crazy and shaggy, looking like somebody that's out of control. Is neat and trim. I don't think it's. I mean, of course, you see, I rock a little small beard here. I don't think there's a problem with it as long as it's neat and trim. Does it take away from the jersey? Does it? I mean, it probably takes away from the tradition a little bit, but I mean, are people really going to start making a big deal out of it? That someone comes with a small beard that's neat and trim? As long as they're winning, I don't think it's a big issue.
Do we even notice as fans watching the players that they have a beard on? I remember Al Habrowski, the mad Hungarian, the pitcher, he had the beard. He felt it gave him power. The Oakland A's in the early 70s, they all grew these handlebar mustache, these mustaches. But that was a team thing to build team rapport. So we noticed the mustaches. But all in all, do we even pay attention if a guy has a beard, a mustache? It doesn't even distract us as fans in any way, shape, or form. So, I mean, who really cares at the end of the day?
Well, the Yankees did.
I never noticed it.
The Yankees did. And now they don't. They're allowing the beards, but they're still not letting the hair grow below the collar and stuff like that. It's like there's certain things that still are they're allowing very close facial hair. I mean, realistically, this could be done because they could be facing a class action lawsuit in terms of stuff like that. So who knows? Who knows why they're doing it? But
I thought that too.
Realistically, I don't think that it's the biggest deal in the world. I mean, even the military who weren't allowed in beards now have done the same thing. So, I mean, you have to evolve a little bit with the times. Obviously, we're in the 21st century, and that may seem like an archaic rule to some of the kids today's, but it is what it is. I look at this as a non-story.
I mean, I've worked jobs.
I think that
sorry, Mac.
I mean, again, tradition. Are we going to change how we do Christmas? Are we going to change how we do Hanukkah? Are we going to change how we do certain other things? I mean, I'm just sad to see it go. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that I disagree with it. I'm just kind of sad that one of the traditions the Yankees are letting go. That's all.
That's fair.
That's all.
Philadelphia Eagles story. I just want to say with Vince Lombardi, there was an Eagles story years ago. There was this great center, Jim Ringo, who played for the Green Bay Packers, and he came with an agent to Vince Lombardi. And they didn't have agents then. And then he let Jim Ringo know shortly after. He said, "Tell your agent you're not a property of the Philadelphia Eagles." So one of their players.
Well, and so starts agents in sports.
Right. So automated umps are going to be used during the preseason. Of course, not every manager is happy with it. Some saying that they're not going to use them during the minor league. What do you think? It's a good idea to have the automated umps in there, guys, or do you think it should be brought up to the major leagues, or will it be brought up to the major leagues? What do you think, Pags?
I don't mind it as much as everybody else. I'm not a big fan of them changing everything in baseball. This, however, I feel like when you have guys like Angel Hernandez that continually were getting calls wrong and things like that, I feel like if they're going to do this automated call, they have to do it in full respect. They have to also do it. Is the bat now, like when they do a check swing, is it a strike or did he hold up? All these things have to come into play a little bit, and I think that that's part of what's got to happen. I don't do the half measure by just doing the balls and strikes when they don't swing. Do the full measure so that a check swing that also is covered into the mix. And I think that that's probably going to come later on. I don't mind this rule more than any other rule. They go to replay for everything else, whether a guy they go back to frame by frame on who touched the bag first now. So I don't see that this being an issue.
And I wanna chime in on that. I kind of actually and thanks Mike for tuning in, Mike Patton Network. I agree with what Mike said. I think it takes away, like, you're using automated, like, it just for me starts to remove even more the human element. We're seeing this in all sports now, and now you're removing something from baseball as the umps. I'm just like, I don't like it.
Yeah, it's interesting what you say, Sonia. One of the fun things in baseball with me growing up were the arguments with the umpires. The managers would come out talking that had entertainment value. Now you can't even hardly argue with an umpire about something.
Yeah, you get tossed out.
Yeah, well, they gave the umpires way too much power, which is the reason why you had Angel Hernandez doing everything the way he was doing it. And I felt like he was doing it purposely at that point. Like he was purposely getting stuff wrong so that they had to force him out like that. I think that this is the way to be able that the umpires specifically are you got to deal with this now because you're getting it wrong too often. I mean, we say the same thing in football. All these calls are wrong, that the referees are ruining the game. Well, I mean, it's the same thing with baseball. The umpires are ruining the game. Well, you're taking the human error out of it by doing the replays the way you are. I think that there's so much gambling that you don't have a choice anymore. You have to do this.
So we have to put this information into these systems, though. Like, there's human input to put into these systems, these AI type stuff. So at the end of the day, it's still nothing is 100%. Even the human aspect.
See, Mike, it's not one person. That's the problem. It's not one person. He just happened to be the biggest person, the most well-known person doing this. There are umpires that are just as bad as him that are unknown because of the fact that there was only Angel Hernandez. But there are umpires that are getting it wrong at 35% of the time, and that just can't be. You know what I mean? It just can't be.
I don't think 35% of the time. That's a little extreme, Pax. Come on.
Well, and it might be during games.
Yes.
Games where there's umpires that get it wrong.
I like the way they do it in football. Let every team have 2 challenges a game. If they get the challenges right, they don't lose the challenges. But if they miss on 2 challenges, they're out of challenges. Then at the ump's mercy the rest of the game.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and then that umpire decides to start taking a vendetta.
Listen,
against
I like the human element.
Yeah.
I like the human element. I don't even like you can do it with all the replays you want. It makes for good. In fact, we argue about it now. Nothing really has changed. I agree with you with Hernandez, Pags. That's extreme, but we argue about it now, or we talk about it now, just like we talked about it then. So, I mean, what really has it solved? What really has it solved? I mean, the ref makes a mistake here, he makes a mistake there, and it normally comes out in the wash. So anyway.
Well, but there again, then you have the Super Bowl a couple of years ago.
Folks, we're coming to the end of the show. Thanks for all the likes and loves and all the views. It's been a fun show. We love doing it for you. Have a great day, everyone, and enjoy, I guess, your